Hi, welcome to Tech Ranch, a place where we learn and earn technical skills in the most efficient way. Let's make coding fun. SQL Tutorial Chapter 5 Cursors. What do we learn in this video? What is cursors? Types of cursors, cursor syntax declaration, cursors demonstration, and practice project for a homework. So what is cursors? Oracle Engine uses work area for its internal processing in order to execute in SQL statements. This work area is private to SQL operation that is called cursor, and data stored in cursors called active data set. And you can say, in other words, Oracle creates a memory area. Just like a regular programming language, they have some space where we keep our variables, constants, and functions in the random access memory. That is in Oracle called a context area for processing a SQL statement, which contains all the information needed for processing the statement. To understand it better, you can take a look in this picture. In a database, we have a tabular type of data which is in a table form. So this is the table A, where we keep our data and your values in a tabular form in this way, like a column A, column B, row 1, 1, and some values. This is our data. Now, the cursor is kind of a pointer which is internally Oracle maintained it. Cursor is a pointer to this context area. SQL controls context area through a cursor. And you can say the cursor holds the rows returned by the SQL statement, and the set of rows cursor hold is referred as active set or active data set. It will be more better to understand when we actually work and create and see how it deployed in an application. Before that, let's take a look how many types of cursors are available in SQL. There are two types of cursors. One is implicit and another is explicit. Implicit cursors automatically created by Oracle Engine and managed by Oracle Engine internally. Here you have to understand that cursors, which is actually a pointer where we are pointing our active data set and trying to access the context area which is private for an Oracle Engine to process the data values. But in case of implicit cursors, which are by default operated by Oracle Engine, is automatically created after every SQL execution. The attributes of this cursor can be used to access information about the status of last SQL statement execution. It's just like a pointer, which is pointing to a memory space where is your data stored. And when we say about explicit is something like we create a pointer, a developer or a programmer who define this kind of and create this type of cursors to get more control over the context area and try to access the data accordingly. There are specific attributes that helps to access active data set and program accordingly. Let's take a look at it in detail. Explicit cursor management. Explicit cursor, which is programmer developed, that what we can create. Now, how to create an explicit cursor? For that, first you need to declare a cursor for initializing memory. After declaration of cursor, you have to open a cursor for allocating the memory. After opening the cursor, you have to fetch the cursor. fetching cursor for retrieving data, which will move the data held in active data set into the memory variables. And once the fetch is done, you have to close the cursor to release the allocation of the memory. So this is the complete major 4 steps to create explicit cursor. Process, how it works internally. So suppose we have a client who is writing and trying to access the memory space in an Oracle engine. So we have to write a PL SQL block of code which is define the cursor. Definition of cursor contains the fetch instruction where we define the fetch. After defining the fetch in a cursor, the instruction goes to the server machine where the user data stored on hard disk or any kind of random access memory. So we are assuming here it's like a memory space. In the memory space, you have a data. The table, the cursor, basically a pointer who moves accordingly the fetch instruction encounter. So as the fetch into instruction defined in a PL SQL block of code execute in a table, the pointer will move to the next row or a next active data set. And that's how we are going to get and retrieve the value which actually the fetch is pointing to. So the current record is fetched into the PL SQL variable. That's how this fetch processing works internally in an Oracle engine in case of explicit cursors. Cursor syntax and declaration. So here we will see how we create a cursor, an implicit cursor. First thing first, we have to declare cursor for initializing memory. So declare. Second, we have to open the cursor for allocating the memory. So declare, then we have to define the cursor name, begin. Then we have to open the cursor for allocating the memory, open cursor name. Next, we have fetching cursor for retrieving the data. So fetch cursor name into variables. So we have to fetch cursor name into variables. Here you have to make sure you are having the fetch into instruction within the loop. So after opening cursor name, you have to start a loop, and then after performing the operation in the data, you have to end the loop. Then close the cursor name and end of the block of code. Now here we have some attributes. %found, which returns true when the last fetch instruction success. %not found, that says and returns true in case of last fetch instruction failed. Is open, says and returns true explicit cursor is open. And %row count, that will return number of rows fetched from active set. So this is all about the cursor syntax and declaration. Let's see the demonstration. Cursor's demonstration. So this is an example of a cursor. Here we have a table A and column A, column B, a typical table in a database. Now, as you can see, it's an example. Here I have written the declare. Column A is my variable. Table A is my table name. Column A is a column name, and %type mentioned it is a data type for the column A variable. Similarly, for the column B, you can have whatever you are required in your application accordingly. Cursor, here I am defining the type of my pointer. Cursor C underscore table A is select. Column A, column B is my column name from table A. Begin. Open. Here I am opening the cursor. This is my cursor name. Open cursor name. Start with a loop. And within the loop, we have to mention the fetch instruction. Fetch cursor name into my variables. Here it's like a select into. We use it in the SQL statement. Fetch into is using in a PLC component. Exit when the condition is not found. We print the message and end of the loop, and out of the loop you have to close the cursor. So this will actually retrieve the entire table with the help of the cursor. So let's see how it displayed and what actually it will print in the demonstration. So this is my run SQL command prompt. First thing first, we have to connect to the database. Then we make our server output on. Next, we create the table, or this is my table I'm using to create a cursor. You can use it any other existing table. Just make sure your table description and the table data. Now next we are going to write the piece of code, PL SQL block of code. So here is my SQL file. Now here I'm going to write the code. First thing first, declare, then column underscore A. This is my column variable, table A dot column A percentage type. So this mentions the variable which has the same data type of the table, which has the column data type. Then we create the cursor. Cursor name some table A example is. Now here I'm going to use my entire table. I'm going to display it in the cursor using the fetch instructions, so we can use both the columns here. So this is what I'm gonna use it, table A. Questions comes like, why are we using such a complicated process when you can just display the values simply? The reason, it's more secured and more controls you can have in your data set, along with some executions in the memory side, which is not accessible to everyone. Now after creating the cursor, we go to the begin section. We start writing the piece of code from the begin. Declaration is done, definition is done of cursor. Now we have to open the cursor. This is my open cursor. Now I'm writing the fetch instruction, which is supposed to be within the loop. So starting my loop with the loop keyword. Next, fetch my cursor name and into my variables, column variables. Now after this we have to perform some operation. So what I'm doing, I'm just getting the values and put it in the variables. Now I'm putting the condition when exit from the loop, when the cursor not found the fetch instruction. So the pointer will be exit in case if the cursor couldn't find the fetch instruction encountered, and it will return loop, and then we print the message variables, print the variables. The pointer will return the values and end loop, close your cursor, end and backslash. This backslash most of the time used to explain the Oracle engine to show the escape character that this is the end of the multiple instructions or sequence of instructions. So this is the end of the PL SQL block of code. Open declaration, definition, initialization, open the cursor, fetch, perform the operation, and then close the loop, close the cursor, and end of the PL SQL block of code. Now let's try to execute. To execute through SQL command prompt, you have to use ampersand, and this is your output. Basically, it's displaying you the table, but with the help of the pointer. It's reading the data values from the context area, which is not accessible to a developer. With the help of the implicit cursor, you can access the data sets. So this is all about the execution of the demonstration of cursor. Now next is practice project, your homework. Today we have inventory management system. This is basically nothing but designed for an application in a store or any grocery store or any kind of superstore, supermarket, where they have an inventory in which they need to manage it, to check it out if it is out of stock or if it is not out of stock, it is available, it is not available to the customer, something like that. So inventory management, we have a table name, and this table name you can mention it anything, and this has 4 columns: product ID, which is nothing but the sequence, and in a varchar type, details varchar type, some kind of string, price in a number type, and stock status in a varchar type, but it has a choice: out of stock or in stock. What you have to do, instruction, you have to write a cursor, create a PL SQL block of code, create a cursor to retrieve active data set which is not in stock, and add an event using trigger to alert for out of stock to the manager. So this is really complicated because we are mixing 2 things here, cursor and a trigger. This will help you to practice too. The goal here is that we have a program where we're defining the cursor, which will tell you that steel bowls and washer tar is in stock, but iron rod and foam is out of stock. So we have to alert manager using trigger that these 2 items, these 2 products are out of stock from the inventory. For more assistance and resource and questions, please contact techranch2019@gmail.com. Feel free to post any comments and suggestions and questions in the comment section. So far we have covered in PL SQL course like introduction, stored procedure, functions, triggers, cursors. Next we are going to have small demonstration along with packages. We have to learn about package, where we are going to mix and everything and reviewing all the PL SQL objects we have, database objects we have learned so far in the next chapter. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please subscribe to the channel for more upcoming, and make sure you press the bell icon to get the notification about the next upcoming video. Let's make coding fun. Thank you.